Hello, my name is Blake McDonald, and I'm the Survey and Grant Specialist at the Virginia Department of Historic Resources. This brief presentation is intended to share information about a recently completed selective architectural survey of postmodern architecture in Fairfax County and the development of a context report documenting the style in the locality. The project was completed at the request of the Fairfax County Department of Planning and Development and utilized a matching grant supporting the county's contribution to the project that came from the Virginia Department of Historic Resources Cost Share Survey and Planning Program. The Virginia Department of Historic Resources is the state's historic preservation agency. Our mission is to foster, encourage, and support the stewardship of Virginia's significant historic, architectural, archaeological, and cultural resources. A few of our program areas include the Virginia Landmarks Register and the National Register of Historic Places. These two lists are like the honor roll of historic resources important at a local, state, or national level in Virginia. Listing on the registers does not entail restrictions to property owners, and it's a great way to celebrate the history of a valuable resource. Listed properties can, however, select to opt in to our robust state and federal rehabilitation tax credit program, which provides dollar-for-dollar reductions in income tax liability for taxpayers who rehabilitate historic buildings to a specific set of standards. We also have our very popular historical highway marker program. Virginia's highway marker program was the first in the nation. The documentation of historic architecture and archaeology through survey is central to all of our program areas. Survey records key information about historic resources like buildings, cemeteries, bridges, and even entire neighborhoods or districts to assist with state and local preservation planning efforts. Effective historic preservation relies on baseline documentation collected during a survey. DHR incentivizes survey of historic resources through our cost share survey and planning grant program. This program provides matching funds and administrative support for historic resource documentation projects proposed by local governments. Many of these projects consist of either historic resource surveys or the listing of properties or districts on the state and national register. The Fairfax County Postmodern Architecture Survey was a cost share survey and planning program grant. During and following World War II, Northern Virginia experienced unprecedented growth driven by the demand for suburban housing, first in neighboring Arlington County and the city of Alexandria, and then spilling into Fairfax County. Beginning in the late 1960s, more businesses began to relocate to Fairfax County to take advantage of its proximity to the federal government, especially businesses in defense, research, and high technology fields. Growth over the next several decades was steady with intermittent spikes related to changes in federal programs, such as military buildup that occurred during the presidency of Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. The nature of employment in the Washington, D.C. area, government and technology sectors, and the industries and infrastructure that supported them meant that the majority of new development related to the construction of office space, housing, and retail establishments rather than industrial facilities. Many of the places constructed during this period in Fairfax County assumed trending architectural forms and styles, giving the locality a higher concentration of postmodern architecture than many other Virginia localities. Postmodern architecture can take many forms, but it is broadly defined as a reaction to mid-century modernism, and particularly the pared-down aesthetic of the international style, and adopts more colorful, eclectic, and playful forms, materials, and arrangements. The objective of this project was to complete a reconnaissance-level architectural survey of 42 individual properties constructed between 1970 and 1995 that reflect postmodern architectural styles, and to evaluate these properties for their eligibility for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. The roster of resources identified by county staff in consultation with DHR provided an inventory that planning staff can use to support the stewardship of postmodern architecture across Fairfax County. Judith H. Robinson and Associates, a Washington, D.C. based cultural resource management firm, conducted the architectural survey within Fairfax County in early 2025. All survey documentation took place from the public right-of-way. The methodology a history of the county's postmodern developments, guidance on the evaluation of postmodern buildings, and recommendations for future preservation planning projects are detailed in a report produced after the survey was completed. This effort builds upon previous surveys of architecture in the community of Reston, as well as a 2024 countywide survey of mid-century modern architecture. Many of the places that were surveyed and selected for inclusion in this project represent the work of prominent architects, typify a key aspect of the county's late 20th century history, or are particularly good examples of a postmodern architectural style. The surveyed properties fall into 5 thematic categories, which are the relocation of federal agencies and national organizations to the suburbs, Fairfax County's efforts to attract tech companies and other large businesses, county planning efforts to accommodate for population growth, the construction of county or state-owned facilities, and places that embody different elements of postmodern architecture. The following slides show a selection of places that were included in this survey. Surveyed places associated with the construction of federal agencies and national organizations in Fairfax County include the offices of the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, the Farm Credit Building, the Northrop Grumman Headquarters Building, and the National Rifle Association Headquarters. The successful campaign to attract tech companies resulted in resources including the Innova Center, a current school building that was constructed as the tech firm Braddock, Dunn, and McDonald headquarters, the Software AG headquarters, and the Dulles Hilton, one of many hotels constructed to accommodate business people traveling to Fairfax County in the period. Fairfax County's planning effort to accommodate population growth between 1970 and 1995 resulted in numerous office parks and residential developments. Included in this survey are Fairview Park, the Atrium Office Complex, Bowman Green, and the Centerpoint Towers. Civic and governmental buildings constructed to meet the demands of late 20th century population growth include a new county governmental center, facilities at Meadowlark Gardens Arboretum, additions to the campus of George Mason University, and the County Boys Probation Home. Finally, some of the buildings surveyed during this project were included because they're particularly representative of postmodern aesthetics. Later additions to Skyline Towers complex exemplify the slit tech branch of postmodern design. Frequent inclusion of historical references in postmodern design can be seen in the Gothic-inspired 1 Cambridge Court. Tycon Courthouse personifies the postmodern tenet of bold designs with something commonly referred to as screaming architecture. And the CIT building is an example of postmodern deconstructivism. More information about the surveyed resources shown in the last few slides can be found in the publicly available survey report on the Fairfax Department of Planning and Development's website under the Projects and Initiatives tab, or at the Department of Historic Resources website. The benefits of this project include a greater understanding of postmodern historic resources and architects in Fairfax County, survey records for areas that may be threatened by new development or inclement weather, tools to assist county and local planners evaluating the significance of postmodern resources, and important documentation that could provide the first step towards optional National Register of Historic Places listing if desired by property owners. This project does not introduce any new restrictions, requirements, or expectations for property owners in the survey areas. If you have any questions about this project, please reach out to the Fairfax County Department of Planning and Development or me, Blake McDonald, at the email address listed on the screen. Thank you.